The next question deals with the issue of transporting goods to a point of export. In this case, it was a harbour on an FOB basis. An FOB is free on board. Risks and ownership pass once the goods have been put on the ship. So the question, twofold question. On the one side, the question is, do these exports qualify to be zero rated? The second question is the transport services from factory to the place of exit. Does that charge qualify to be zero rated? Let's just look at the export first. Now, FOB means the goods are not exported by South Africa by the supplier. The goods are exported by the person that buys the goods. In that instance, that would be a zero rated export. If an indirect zero rated export. So if the supplier wishes to zero rate that export, the supplier at its sole discretion can decide to zero rate that, provided then of course they get the documentation back in time. If they do not get all the documentation back in time, then the supplier will be held accountable for the VAT as if it was a standard rated supply. So that's a classical, FOB is a classical indirect export. So could be zero rated, subject to approval by the seller. What about the transporters being provided? Now, different sections in the VAT Act apply to that. The transport of those goods would be zero rated because it's in connection with the transport of goods to a point of export, but only zero rated to the extent that that contract of transport is directly with the non-resident and the non-resident is not VAT registered in South Africa. So let's assume that doesn't apply. Let's assume the non-resident uses an agent in South Africa. So agent is interposed. What happens then is that the interposed agent is regarded as the recipient of that supply. So then when I issue my invoice to the non-resident, the agent receives that invoice. The agent, you will charge VAT at 14% on that invoice. The agent is deemed to be the recipient of that supply. So the agent gets the input tax deduction. So there's still no VAT lost. In the sense that you can't claim an input tax deduction, but the person that can claim an input tax deduction is changed in terms of the workings of the VAT Act. So had that charge been made directly to the non-resident, that charge would have been a zero rated supply. So I hope that clarifies that situation.